Hi, I'm Josue, the spirited historian, and this is Chronicles and Cocktails, where we explore Puerto Rico's history, culture, flavors, one story at a time. Over the years, while working behind bars and restaurants, whether it was here in San Juan or even in New Orleans, where I used to live and work, people would ask me the same question over and over. What is Puerto Rico? Is it a state? Is it an independent country? What is it? And you know what? I always found it so fascinating that one simple question could have such a long, complicated answer and a beautiful answer. And that's what we're going to explore here in Chronicles and Cocktails. So, for this episode of Chronicles and Cocktails, we're going to be talking about Puerto Rico. What is Puerto Rico? We're going to try to answer that question. But I think we need a cocktail in our hands. And I think I'm going to make a Piña Colada for this episode. I mean, isn't it Piña Colada one of the most iconic Puerto Rican cocktails? And one with a very fascinating history. Of course, we're not going to talk about the history of the Piña Colada in this episode, but I promise you, we're going to have a full episode in the future about the history of the Piña Colada. Let's go make one. Come with me. On this very first episode of Chronicles and Cocktails, we're going to talk about Puerto Rico. We're going to talk about history. We're going to talk about genealogy. We're going to talk about cocktails because I am a bartender. And with every episode, we're going to have a cocktail for that episode. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. When you think about Puerto Rico, that's what you usually think about. A nice, cold, refreshing, creamy Piña Colada. I mean, the drink itself is a very historic drink. And of course, we're going to have an episode about the Piña Colada. Who invented it? When? Is it a new cocktail? Has it been here since the mid 20th century? Or way before? Was it invented by pirates? Well, all that we're going to be talking about in this channel. So let's get started. We are going, well, I gotta get ready, So for this episode, we are going to need a few things. Nothing fancy, everything simple. In the Caribbean, things are a little bit slower, you know what I'm saying? Like vacation time. We are on vacation time, and every time is, guess what? 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. So we're gonna start with Piña Colada, right? We're gonna make a Piña Colada. So what do we need? We need a piña. And of course, we're using local produce. And this one is from right here. We're also gonna use some coconut cream. Yes, in this case, we are using the can. And why? Well, I don't know if you tried opening a coconut. I mean, I live here. There's palm trees, coconut trees all around. And one time I wanted my kids to have that experience, I got coconuts and we're gonna try to open them. That's right, try. It's so difficult, you see it in the movies and it's like people just like chack, 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 open. No, that's not the case. That is not the case. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Piña Colada. Puerto Rico is an island in the Caribbean, about 1,000 miles southeast of Miami. But when people ask what Puerto Rico is, they're not talking about geography. They're talking about politics, about identity. Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States. That means we are in a relationship with the United States, but we're not a state. And no, we're not an independent country either. You see, it's complicated. We have US citizenship, our own local government, our own flag, just like any other state. We also have our very own Olympic team. That is something that other states do not have, but not full equality under the US system. So the answer is, we are United States, but also Puerto Rico. We are in between, and that, my friends, is the story we're about to explore. Before the United States entered the picture, Puerto Rico lived through 4 centuries being part of the Spanish Empire. Before the Spanish arrived in Puerto Rico, there were the Taínos, the island's indigenous people. Then, in 1493, Christopher Columbus arrived to the shores of the west side of Puerto Rico. Right then and there, Puerto Rico became their stronghold in the Caribbean. With fortified walls, castles, and canyons, San Juan was the second settlement in all of the Americas. In 1898, everything changed. After the Spanish-American War, Spain ceded Puerto Rico to the United States after the signing of the Treaty of Paris. And that's when our complicated relationship with the US began. So let's talk a little bit about the last years of Puerto Rico under the Spanish crown. And looking at my notes over here, by 1867, Puerto Rico had 656,328 inhabitants. Its population recorded as 346,437 whites and 309,891 of color. This category included blacks, mulatto, and mestizos. Out of this mix of races and nationalities, a sense of a national culture was establishing or had been established. That happened especially during the 1800s or the century of the Enlightenment. So looking back after 300 years, the 1500s, the 1600s, and the 1700s, it's in the 1800s when people in Puerto Rico start realizing that they might be a little bit different from the people in the Iberian Peninsula, right? So this national identity starts forming, and it is very evident in the arts, in the music, in politics, in the culture, in the way we speak, the words that we use, even in the architecture. So the 1800s is very important for Puerto Rico as it starts becoming its own culture. So the Spanish crown granted a charter of autonomy, specifically in November 25th, 1897. That was short-lived because a few years later, the United States came in. This charter made Puerto Rico a complete part of Spain, like they have today, the autonomous regions. So Puerto Rico practically became fully integrated with Spain, having self governance, which is pretty much what a state is in the United States. That's what happened in Puerto Rico back in 1896, 1897. But then the United States came in 1898, and they came through the southern coasts of Guanica, going up all the way through Adjuntas and Utuado, and then conquering different city halls and town halls all over the island. So after they came in, they established a military government that lasted for about 2 years. Then the United States established a civil government, but the governor was not elected by Puerto Ricans. The governor was appointed by the President of the United States. In 1917, things changed a little bit, or quite a lot. The United States Congress granted Puerto Ricans the United States citizenship. So this was an act of Congress, and it's been like that ever since. We are still United States citizens. Some argue we are second-class citizens, some argue that we're not, and it's a little bit more complicated than that because, for example, we cannot vote in the presidential elections. So Puerto Rico, as a territory, cannot vote in the presidential elections. But if I were to move, let's say, when I moved to New Orleans back in the 90s, I moved to New Orleans and I was able to vote like any other person in the United States. But it's the same thing the other way around. If you are an American who moves to Puerto Rico, then you cannot vote in the presidential elections. So you see, I don't think it's the citizenship that is a second-class citizenship. I think it's the problem lies in the territory. The citizens of a territory cannot vote. In 2024, Puerto Ricans voted once again on their political future. The plebiscite offered three options: statehood, independence, or free association. Statehood won with about 58% of the valid votes. But here's the reality: Puerto Rico's status hasn't changed since 1952. Any real change requires action by the US Congress, and so far, Washington hasn't moved forward. So while the people have spoken, Puerto Rico remains a U.S. territory under the same Commonwealth status it has held for more than 70 years. But Puerto Rico isn't just politics, it's food, and really good food. Let's start with one of Puerto Rico's most traditional dishes, mofongo, mashed plantains with garlic and chicharrón, often stuffed with chicken, seafood, or steak, and the carne frita, crispy fried pork, one of my personal favorites. Head west to Rincon, and the flavors of the sea take over. Fresh fish, fresh lobster, and shrimp, all kinds of seafood, all served steps from the sand. But nothing captures the island like our frituras. Here, in a festival in Cataño, alcapurrias are being made. Ground root vegetables and green bananas filled with seasoned meat, fried golden brown. You'll find them everywhere on the island, each one a taste of tradition. And then there are the chinchorros, roadside bars and eateries where Puerto Ricans gather to eat, drink, and laugh. Plates overflow with fried chicken, sandwiches on soft pan sobao from the bakeries, empanadillas and pastelillos stuffed with flavors, even fresh fruits sold at the plazas del mercado. This is Puerto Rican food, history,
tradition, and community all served on a plate. So, what is Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico is history carved in stone and painted in color. It's the music of fiestas in the plazas and the quiet strength of our mountains and coasts. Its cities alive with energy and small towns that hold centuries of memory. Puerto Rico is flavor, rhythm, tradition, and resilience. A bridge between worlds and a home for its people. Above all, Puerto Rico is a story still being written, and we invite you to be part of it.
So thank you for watching. I hope you liked the episode. Give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe. Salud.